In a quiet corner of Bonn, Germany, in 1770, a child was born into a world of music and of pain. His name was Ludwig van Beethoven. Today, we remember him as a titan of classical music. But behind the symphonies and sonatas was a life shaped by suffering, determination, and fire. Beethoven's childhood was far from idyllic. His father, Johann, was a singer in the court chapel and an alcoholic. He recognized young Ludwig's talent early on, but tried to mold him into the next Mozart with relentless, often cruel methods. Beethoven would be dragged out of bed for midnight piano lessons, beaten for mistakes, and isolated from other children. And yet, music became his refuge. By age 12, Beethoven was earning money for his family. At 14, he was working as an assistant court organist. It was clear this was no ordinary boy. He wasn't just playing music, he was beginning to speak through it. At 21, he moved to Vienna, the city of music. There he studied under the great Joseph Haydn and was deeply influenced by the spirit of Mozart, who had recently passed. Beethoven quickly gained a reputation as a bold and passionate pianist. He didn't just perform, he astonished. Crowds came not just to hear him play, but to witness something electric. His improvisations were emotional, stormy, and deeply human. Vienna had never seen anything quite like him. But in his late 20s, Beethoven faced a terrifying reality. He was going deaf. At first, it was just a ringing in his ears, and missed notes, strained conversations, and then silence. For a composer, it was more than a tragedy. It was a sentence. In 1802, he retreated to the countryside and wrote a letter to his brothers. Part confession, part farewell. In it, he wrote, "What a humiliation. To be forced to admit that one can hear no longer." He even considered taking his own life. But then he wrote a line that would define his legacy. "I will seize fate by the throat, shall not bend me completely to its will." And so he fought back, not with violence, but with creation. He began to compose not for others, but for himself. His music grew more personal, more profound, poured his pain, his rage, and his hope into every measure. His Fifth Symphony opens with 4 unforgettable notes. Da 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 da. It's the sound of fate knocking at the door. As the silence in his world grew louder, Beethoven withdrew from society. And yet, in isolation, he created the Ninth Symphony, the haunting late quartets, and the towering Missus Solemnis. He could hear nothing, and yet he heard everything. In 1824, at the premiere of his Ninth Symphony, home of the famous Ode to Joy, Beethoven stood among the performers, unable to hear a note. When the final movement ended, the audience erupted in applause. But he didn't notice. The singer gently turned him around so he could see the crowd rising to their feet. They weren't just applauding the music, they were applauding the man who defied the impossible. 3 years later, Beethoven died during a thunderstorm. He was 56. More than 20,000 people attended his funeral in Vienna. Carriages stretched for miles. The city mourned not just a composer, but a force of nature. Ludwig van Beethoven didn't just compose music, he composed rebellion, he composed endurance. And in every note he left behind, we still hear a voice that refused to be silenced. Even in darkness, Beethoven found light through his music. So do we.